So warm welcome in the 2025 first interaction, and I wish you, your families and your media houses, all of them, great success, great prosperity. We've closed calendar 2024 on a very high note, happy note, particularly in my own home state of Maharashtra, with the kind of affection that people have showered on Prime Minister Modi, Chief Minister Fadnavis, and a historic mandate which clearly demonstrates a high degree of satisfaction with the work of the central government and the state government. Almost across the country, in the by-elections, we saw the same thing. In Haryana, we saw the same thing. And I'm starting with that only to say that ultimately there can be no better endorsement than that about the work we are doing on the economy, on the growth story of India, on Viksit Bharat 2047, the collective vision of 140 crore Indians to make India truly an inclusive, sustainable, and transformational growth story. We have seen that despite very, very severe geopolitical tensions around the world, India continues to remain an oasis in the desert, a bright spot which is the envy of the rest of the world. India today provides talent, provides skill, provides demand, the world's largest population and aspirational young India looking for the better things of life. And the enthusiasm we are seeing amongst our startups particularly, the way youngsters and others are coming up with fantastic, innovative ideas, it almost brings back to mind what Prime Minister Modi had said from the ramparts of the Red Fort on 15th August. And I'd like to quote, "As we enter the 10th year, the world recognizes power of Indian solutions for global applications." In a way, it was in 2015 that PM had announced the Startup India mission or program, 2015. We launched Startup India on 16th January 2016. The announcement was made at the Red Fort. And today, 10 days from now, we'll be entering into the 10th year, our 10th foundation day. And clearly, our Indian startups are making us proud across the world. There was a time then when we used to glorify 1 or 2% coming up with an idea in a garage and making it a global success story. India now is the world's third largest startup ecosystem, boasting over 110 unicorns. So garage stories becoming global giants is something that fills our heart with joy and makes us hold our head high in terms of the success that our Startup India mission in such a short span of time has demonstrated. Millions of young boys and girls getting jobs, getting employment opportunities, newer ideas making it easier for our common citizen, ease of living, innovative solutions to business problems, helping make ease of doing business a reality. And therefore, we are collectively deciding with the startup ecosystem to celebrate 16th January 2025, the beginning of the 10th year, our decade of achievements, on a high note. We have several plans for our celebrations which will unfold over the next week or 10 days, showcasing the startup ecosystem to the world. Many of you are aware that we had started last year the Startup Mahakumbh. It's the world's largest congregation of startups at one place. And diverse startups, deep tech, space technology, agri-tech, fintech, health tech, biotech, such a vast array of startups from across the country. And at last count, nearly 85–90% of the districts of India today have startups in there, working in their districts. And with startups, I'm not just talking of entrepreneurs. I'm talking of people with innovative ideas, newer ideas. Women are a big contributor to the startup story. Almost 43% of startups have at least one woman founder or director. From a 450 startup story 9 years ago, we are now 150,000 plus. So this transformational journey, of course, needs to be told to the world, and I think will also inspire more and more youngsters, possibly some of you in this room also, to look at your own startups with new ideas, with new offerings. We have many youngsters from the media world also who have started with out-of-the-box offerings to the people. Whether it's those short clips which give you the news quick to know and you're abreast with what's happening in the world, different formats of YouTube engagement or podcasts or facilitation of analytics of news, so many things we keep hearing even amongst the media friends with newer ideas. My own PIB officer of the past has a very successful startup, Narayanan, DJ Narayan. And he's now getting offerings for private equity for his startup. So it's an evolution that we are all as a nation proud of. And government having played the role of a facilitator without interfering in the freedom of the startups to flourish has been one of the biggest enablers of this startup ecosystem to grow and expand. The Startup Mahakumbh had a record participation. Startup Mahakumbh in 2025 is going to be even bigger and better, and is going to be on 5 pillars of partnerships, pathways, people, policies, and prosperity. Many other programs that we have already launched. We launched Bhaskar, if you recall, which already has 4.5 lakh users. While we are still at testing stage, we have not done the formal launch. We have just done a beta launch. And 4.5 lakh users have already signed up for a single portal on which mentoring is done, financing is done, hand-holding is done, ideas can be engaged with experts, discussed. Similarly, GEM today has 28,000 startups already, and so far 33,000 crores of orders have been generated through GEM. I'm just giving you a flavor of this success story. More as we go along towards 16th January, and as we finalize the contours of our plans for the startup celebrations, Mahaparv. Friends, we've also had good successes on many other fields, whether it's our patents, trademarks, designs, copyrights activity, the CGPDTM. It's growing by leaps and bounds, 100% online now. Efficient closure of old pendency and old cases, speedy disposal, and disposal as in not disposal to say no, but disposal as in completing the process and giving registration on a fast track basis. We are amongst the best in the world in terms of speed today, but our target is to be better than the rest of the world. Similarly, exports, despite all these challenging times and several items where we had restrictions, continues to labor on with significant growth collectively for goods and services. Imports also have been quite high, but that's in a way a sign of a growing economy. It shows that there's a demand for equipment and machinery in a big way. It shows that there's a demand for inputs and intermediate products in the country, which means that much more opportunities for people to start new businesses in India and invest in India. It shows that there's a demand for consumer goods, white goods, consumer requirements, FMCG, whatever, which encourages people to come and invest in India again. So all of this ultimately is leading up to a great growth story, which will create jobs and opportunities to work for our brothers and sisters and fast track our mission towards Viksit Bharat 2047. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll take some questions. The floor is open for questions, but starting will be with a startup.
Mike.
लास्ट ईयर बजट में सर स्टार्टअप्स के लिए काफ़ी अच्छे कदम उठाए गए थे, जिसमें एंजल टैक्स बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था सर। उसके बाद से अभी तक की एक साल की जर्नी कैसी रही स्टार्टअप की, और इस साल बजट में जो क्या आप लग रहा है कि ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस आपके पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से कितना अहम है, क्योंकि अभी भी स्टार्टअप्स ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस को लेकर अभी कहीं ना कहीं उनको परेशानी हो रही है सर?
ये एक कंटिन्यूस जर्नी रहती है। एंजल टैक्स के हटने से एक बहुत बड़ी राहत स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम ने पब्लिकली भी जाहिर की थी। हमें भी जब जब मिलते हैं तो बताते हैं। स्वाभाविक है कि समय समय पे हम नए नए विषयों के ऊपर कैसे स्टार्टअप्स को और आगे वृद्धि मिले, ग्रो हो, कैसे और सुविधाएं मिल सके, उसके लिए चर्चा हमारी चलती रहती है। बजट में क्या होगा वो तो बजट ही बताएगा।
ठीक है सर।
In terms of how Indian startups can truly make for the world, and also if you could give your comments on Blinkit getting into ambulance delivery, and then you also have BB now looking to get into medicine delivery.
As regards the first question, of course, I think we've reached that inflection point where in the remotest corners of India today, with Atal Innovation Mission having expanded in a very big way, with about 1,000 incubators across the length and breadth of India, supporting startups in their local regions. Some of them really doing it in a massive way, like the IIT Madras, Chennai. They are doing a fantastic incubation job. It's a world-class incubation center. Ahmedabad has a world-class incubation center. So I think overall, we have reached that stage where we are ready to take off with much faster growth, and government will not be found wanting in encouraging our startups and supporting our startups. More and more investors are coming into play, both with domestic capital and foreign capital. Yes. Yesterday I met somebody who in a short span of 5 years has already invested $1.1 billion. And that itself was a startup. Somebody who had started venture financing with innovative style of providing a mix of capital and debt and all of that. And in a short span of 5 years, and the list of companies they have invested, some of which they shared, showed that almost 17 of their investments have become unicorns in this 5-year period. So it just goes to show that the momentum is there, and we'd like the people of India to capture that momentum. I find that in every moment and every engagement, you can get a new startup idea. I think 1 or 2 press conferences also, while speaking, I've given ideas of what could become a good startup, right? For example, there'll probably be a day we'll be rid of all of these mics, and some startup may come up with a smarter solution that we'll just have a small little piece here, and they will all have a connection from that, and make it so much easier rather than fighting when we are giving a bite at any point of time, or in parliament or outside parliament. I mean, there's so many, I think there are thousands of ideas that come to mind which have yet to be explored. As regards Blinkit doing ambulance service or medicines being delivered, my only submission would be that they have to make sure that they meet the law of the land, and whatever are the legal requirements should be properly taken care of. No laws of the land should be broken.
Thank you, sir.
Lady at the end from Outlook.
Yeah. Hi, sir. This is Pushpita from Outlook Business. Sir, I have 2 questions. So, how does the government plan to give a push to the deep tech startup these days? And my second question is about the foreign investments. Are there any plans to ease the regulatory compliances for more foreign investments coming to India?
In terms of deep tech, we all recognize that the world is changing very fast. But the world also recognizes that India always remains abreast with that change. They have seen it over the last 25 years, if one goes back to the Y2K. And in the last 10 years, they've seen it galloping away, with India becoming, during COVID, the trusted partner of the world, with India adopting AI faster than any other developing country, with India soon to host more data centers, because we have the ideal ecosystem to support data centers in the country, a massive sustainable energy, renewable energy program so that these data centers can be green, a national interconnected grid which can provide robust, reliable power. So we are in a situation, given the number of initiatives this government has taken in the last 10 years, that for adoption of newer technology ideas and going into deep tech in a big way, India is the ideal country, the country of choice of the world today. And we can see huge investments already either coming in or on the way to coming in. And when people meet me for investing in AI or data centers or related fields, nobody talks of anything lower than billions. I've yet to meet an investor who came to me in this field and spoke of millions. They only talk of billions. So I think there's huge scope in terms of ease of investing. We are open to suggestions. I have been on more than one occasion appealing to stakeholders to come back to us if they have any issues, because FDI is 100% open in these sectors. But if there's still any policy, procedure, process, or anything which is a detriment or delaying investments, our doors are open, and we are happy to work amongst the ministries to make sure that ease of investing, ease of repatriation, all of that can be ensured. Any of you gets any inputs or any suggestions, you please share it with us also.
Hi, sir. I'm Kriti from Informis Media. So, would you throw a little light on how the Startup India scheme per se is operating this year? Because considering the budget for FY25, it has a token provision for Startup India. So, if you could explain the token provisioning under Startup India and how is it operating this year?
I think Startup India had several funds, the fund of funds, the seed capital fund, and all of that. Provisions are already made earlier and provided to SIDBI. So we don't need an annual allocation for that. SIDBI, as the operating agency, then makes the commitments and based on the progress keeps dispersing the funds. SIDBI has also started recovering now, getting back money. So Mr. Raman, the MD, was sharing with me the outcomes and they were very impressive. Yeah, 1600 crores have started coming back also into the SIDBI's corpus. But government stands committed to making sure that newer startups promoted particularly in remote parts of the country are never found wanting for funds for supporting their new ideas. So right now SIDBI has the available resources, but we are in continuous monitoring. We have a National Startup Advisory Council through which we keep getting feedback from all over India, from investors, from people engaged in startups. And once we have this Startup Mahakumbh this time, there'll be a series of conferences and seminars and breakout sessions along with the exhibitions where we'll be engaging with startups from all over the country. Incidentally, last time's Startup Mahakumbh, 50,000 participants had come, 50,000. So you can imagine, first time ever we had done a startup at this scale. So this year we expected to go over 1 lakh of people.
Sir, this is Deepak Mandal from New Indian Express. So you talked about 110 unicorns. Now they have
110 plus.
Yeah,
Number keeps changing so fast.
Okay. So sir, there have been cases where the companies which were once unicorn, they lose their valuation severely and they stop being unicorn. So does the government
I
maintain
checked
such
this
records?
out. It happened more so in the last 12, 13 months or 18 months. So we have been monitoring. We didn't find too many cases. एक आध केस मिलते हैं फिर उसको हम बहुत ज़्यादा exaggerated way में discuss करें उसका कोई फायदा नहीं है. It's not as if out of 110 we found that 50 of them or 40 of them have lost value and become smaller than unicorns. Hardly we found 1 or 2 cases और तो मिला नहीं था ना कोई. बहुत कोशिश की क्योंकि कुछ न्यूज़पेपर में ऐसे सेंसेशनल खबर आने की आदत होती है. तो हम किधर पढ़ा था मैंने स्टडी भी किया पर कुछ मिला नहीं ऐसा. आपके पास जानकारी हो तो जरूर भेजना. मेरे
Is the government planning to do anything to ensure that such sudden,
मतलब you are going back to the government controlled socialist Raj or communist Raj in this country? Either valuations or market forces determine the valuation. Neither do we interfere when a Zepto becomes a unicorn in less than 3 years run by a 19-year-old boy. Neither do we interfere if somebody's value falls. It could be for mismanagement. It could be for lack of financial prudence. But what government has done, which I'm sure all of you will be happy to know, is that we have, wherever we get any such examples of financial mismanagement or managerial incompetence, we picked up those cases, asked the National Startup Advisory Council to study what has gone wrong and come up with some guidelines for auditors, come up with some guidelines by which all these startups can be encouraged to beware of such practices and investors to keep their eyes open. And the Startup Advisory Council has done very good work on that.
ऊपर से
The startups are in electric vehicle space. They have become quite big. Today, some established firm and these startups met you on electric vehicle infrastructure and other issues. Today, meeting happens. Can you tell us what kind of talks happened and assurances given?
Well, we had a very good engagement with not only startups, there were some startups in that, but auto companies were there. Two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheelers, passenger cars, trucks, buses, battery swapping companies. Everybody was there. And if I have to sum up the whole meeting in one line, the electric mobility today is absolutely ready and set to fly. They do not need newer incentives or subsidies. The existing subsidies are available for some more time and will help them give that appropriate kickstart to the EV ecosystem. But on almost all sectors now, there are options and ideas available by which electric mobility can be successfully marketed. It's a good economic case to move from ICE engine to electric engine, and in some cases to maybe plug-in hybrids or something. And I would urge all of you in this room also use cars. It's in your best interest to get rid of the ICE engine and move to an electric vehicle to save your overall cost of ownership of a vehicle.
But anything specific on battery
Mike.
charge? Mukesh from Financial Express. Anything specific on charging infrastructure, maybe how to scale it up, or
We've done
even
a few.
swapping and all of standards?
I'm not getting into all the details. For example, PISO has come out with guidelines for consultation and have released it to all the stakeholders to make it easier to set up charging infrastructure in petrol pumps, gas stations. I went further today to offer them that we'll even make those guidelines self-monitoring and self-certification, so that whoever is setting up charging stations will self-monitor and self-regulate those charging stations, will make sure that he meets all the guidelines, and the oil companies who own all of these gas stations or monitor them in any case can then keep a watch out to make sure everything is kosher. Similarly, we want to encourage resident welfare associations. We want to encourage commercial establishments, office complexes to have electric charging equipment. And nobody needs to invest. The investment these charging companies or swapping companies or auto companies are happy to do. So we want that awareness to be created. I've suggested to them that as a industry body collectively, they should run a campaign, both to make people aware of the benefits of electric mobility for sustainability and the pollution problems that cities face particularly, to encourage people to know that cost of ownership and operation collectively is a very attractive economic case now in the case of electric mobility, to create a common app collectively as a, like we do a farmers producer organization or a cooperative. Why can't this whole sector collectively prepare the tools by which everybody will know nearest charging station, what are the available offerings, or all the information that is required for the growth of this sector. The area we focused was on safety standards. BIS has already notified it for three-wheelers and four-wheelers, I think. Now they have to notify it for two-wheelers. And they have already released the draft standard. I've asked all the auto companies by Monday latest to come back with their comments, and the battery swapping companies to come back with their comments, so that also can be notified. And standards will keep evolving because it's an industry where there's a lot of innovation and R&D. So we'll keep evolving and making them better and finer in the years to come.
And sir, for encouraging swapping, battery swapping,
I think it's a business case that should be left to the consumer. It's a choice of the consumer. Smart consumers will make smart choices.
So, but companies won't be told to maybe design vehicles in a way that it makes swapping easier.
Again, we've left it for companies to decide their own business model.
Okay.
So if companies want to go along with swapping, they can pool their resources. If they want to sell their own vehicle with their own battery, each company will have to choose its own path. And different companies have different levels of R&D and innovation. So some may not want to share their offerings with the other companies. Some may want to pool resources with others and leverage benefits of whatever nature are possible with such initiatives. So we believe it's not the government's job to micromanage. Okay. The government has already played the role of a facilitator. We had heavy industries in the meeting. We had DPIIT, we had Niti Aayog, we had BIS, we had power ministry. So everybody was on the same page that this industry should be allowed to flourish and fly, and the best way to do it is to leave them to decide their own fate.
Okay. Don't mandate.
Regime to be proper, or they want subsidy regime to go away so that
Everybody was unanimous in the room that once the existing subsidy regime comes to an end, none of them requires a subsidy to grow any further. Today, with battery costs and with the advantages of cost of ownership plus savings in operations and availability of plug-in hybrids, availability of swapping systems, everybody was unanimous in the room across sectors that for different sectors there may be different models which work, but each sector has one or the other model which makes it self-sustaining and doesn't require a call for further subsidies.
एक तो जैसे हमारी स्टार्टअप जो है वो उसमें मैन्युफैक्चरिंग की हिस्सेदारी कम है, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग स्टार्टअप। लास्ट टाइम भी आपने बोला था कि उसके लिए हम लोग कोई पॉलिसी भी अलग से ला सकते हैं मैन्युफैक्चरिंग स्टार्टअप को बढ़ाने के लिए, क्योंकि उसमें रोजगार ज़्यादा निकलता है जाहिर है टेक के स्टार्टअप से। तो एक तो सर उसके बारे में क्या हो रहा है। दूसरा सवाल सर, चूँकि काफ़ी पुराना है ये, ई कॉमर्स नीति जो हमारी काफ़ी पहले से बनकर आप भी सर, और काफ़ी जो छोटे छोटे व्यापारी हैं वो उनका एक कंसर्न रहा है ई कॉमर्स। दूसरा आजकल क्विक कॉमर्स भी आ गया तो और उनका कंसर्न बढ़ गया है। तो इसको लेकर सर क्या कब तक पॉलिसी आ रही है या कोई कॉमर्स
मैन्युफैक्चरिंग स्टार्टअप्स का जहां तक सवाल है, इसमें सरकार कोई स्पेसिफिकली लोगों को कहे कि आप इस चीज में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करो, वो तो सरकार की नीति नहीं हो सकती। हाँ, सरकार प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट्स कलेक्ट कर सकती है और उन प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट्स के आधार पर लोगों को एनकरेज कर सकती है कि आप आइडियाज़ निकालिए, इस क्षेत्र में स्कोप है और आप अच्छे आइडियाज़ लाओगे तो आप इस क्षेत्र में अच्छा काम कर सकते हो। अब समझो कोई भी चीज़ की मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हो रही है, इसकी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हो रही है कप की, अगर कोई व्यक्ति को कोई अच्छा ब्राइट आइडिया आए कि मैं कप का ये जो अंदर का स्कूप है इसको निकाल के एक कप बनाऊं, फिर अंदर के स्कूप में से कोई और चीज़ बनाऊं जिससे वेस्टेज कम हो जाए, वेस्टेज कम होने से मेरा प्रोडक्ट अट्रैक्टिव हो जाएगा, अफोर्डेबल होगा, तो अलग अलग प्रकार से स्टार्टअप्स मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में भी आ रहे हैं। आपको लगता है स्पीड कम है, हमारी जानकारी के हिसाब से मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में बड़े पैमाने पे स्टार्टअप्स आए हैं। हमने भी DPIIT से एक प्रयोग किया है कि 50 MOU साइन किए हैं कॉर्पोरेट हाउसेस के साथ कि वो अपना प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट शेयर करें, जिसको हम देश भर में पहुंचाएं और स्टार्टअप्स को एनकरेज करें कि इन प्रॉब्लम्स के ऊपर वो काम करें। जहाँ तक क्विक कॉमर्स या ई कॉमर्स की बात है, सरकार भी इसके ऊपर निगरानी रखे हुए है। आप सब जानते हैं कि कंपटीशन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया ने इस पे कड़ी कार्रवाई की है। जहाँ जहाँ पे कुछ गलत बातें एंटी कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रैक्टिसेस उन्हें दिखे, इसी प्रकार से जहाँ तक मुझे जानकारी है पीछे कुछ इन्वेस्टिगेटिव एक्शंस भी हुए थे कुछ कंपनीज के ऊपर जिन्होंने कानून को तोड़ मरोड़ कर मिसयूज किया था कानून का। मेरा पुराना कहना है कि कानून का लेटर ऑफ द लॉ और स्पिरिट ऑफ द लॉ दोनों को सबने पालन करना चाहिए। अभी भी बहन को मैंने यही बोला कि हमें सबका स्वागत करते हैं, लेकिन सबको कानून के अंतर्गत अपना काम करना चाहिए।
Sir, Manoj Kumar from Reuters News Agency. Sir, in view of the important role of the startups in our exports of goods and services as well, and looking at the numbers for the November and what is your assessment for the December, how we have done, and in view of the global headwinds and Mr. Trump coming in the US, so how do we, what is our outlook for the exports front? Thank you.
Our overall exports are on an increasing trend. Certainly with the geopolitical situation, with 2 wars still going on, the Red Sea crisis because of which shipping costs have been under stress. There will be stresses in the system, but the good part is that we have a very large basket, both in goods and in services. And collectively, my estimate is that this year we will cross $800 billion in exports, which will be another record, which, given the current world situation where global trade is contracting or is under severe stress, will be very creditable. Particularly our share in services exports continues to grow at a very rapid pace. In terms of what government comes in different countries, you are aware that India is one country which never interferes in the politics of any other country, and we always welcome whoever is chosen by the people of their country. We are looking forward to a very deep and substantive engagement with the new US administration. I have had the privilege of working with that administration personally also, and of course our government, the Modi government has worked with both the Obama administration, the Obama administration, the Trump administration, the Biden administration, and is looking forward to working with Mr. Trump again. Every one of our engagements over the years has only got better and better.
Hi sir, this side on your left. Hi, sir, this is Dev from Ink42 Media. Sir, my question is, of late we are seeing a lot of startups are, shifting their domicile from Singapore or from foreign countries to India. So just wanted to understand from, is the government trying to do some expedite the process? Because as from what we can see, it's a time-taking process to shift their base from foreign country to India. So are you going to see any update?
It's a welcome sign and also very, very satisfying that more and more startups want to come back home and register in India, possibly list in India, grow in India. It only validates what we have been consistently saying, that the decisive leadership of Prime Minister Modi, the proactive policies and the stability that we provide in government running have all helped in making India an attractive destination. Also, the huge demand that 140 crore Indians offer and the talent and skills of our young men and women have all been welcome features. The stock market in India is one of the best performing in the world, having consistently given positive returns for now 9 years, I read. Something which has not happened in any other part of the world. All in all goes to show that India will be the preferred destination in the future. We will discuss with the Startup Advisory Council and take feedback. Sorry. If any steps are required to make their journey back home easier, we'll be open to ideas.
Sir, yeah, sir, I am Gyanendra from Deccan Herald. Sir, export data, when we see the decline is more in Africa, Asian countries than Europe, and I think America is already having good numbers. So how is the impact of Red Sea? Because Red Sea, should have impacted more to Europe. And what is your strategy for boosting export to Africa and newer markets?
I think we are all aware that many developing or less developed countries have been stressed because of foreign currency crisis in the post-COVID world, because of which we've seen many shipments getting delayed or shipments not happening to these countries where there is foreign exchange problems or their own internal economic stress is there. The Red Sea crisis has had an impact on shipping costs, because of which possibly what we could have grown much more to Europe, to America, to Latin America, and also to the African countries. A lot of that growth has got affected. In Africa, which is also a very price-sensitive market, these increased transport costs also have a role in affecting exports.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, friends. We will have another opportunity. We'll keep on meeting. This is the first press briefing with,
Of the year.
Of the year. And
All the best and God bless.
all welcome to have tea with us in the dining room.
You are all invited.